Hey, Benel community.
Chegou todo mundo pra nossa parilhada, né? Chegou todo mundo. Meu amigo Osvaldo já chegou, Osvaldo? O Mamete, Tadinho, Rolinho, o Rola já chegou? Não quero também? Toninho tá aí? Tá chegando. A dona Deza, a parilhada. Tem a Luzia. Então bora todo mundo fazer uma parilhada, tá bem? Pessoal, o que tá acontecendo por aqui? Essa muito boa. Não gostaram? Não gostaram do meu barulho?
Essa não. Dá mesmo. Vai dar zebra.
Vamos beber cachaça esta gente, vamos farrear. Vamos beber cachaça esta gente, vamos farrear. A cachaça é gostosa, ninguém vai se embriagar. A cachaça é gostosa.
Okay, first little shout out, not even a shout out, but Baraka P. Dub, who hasn't been around for a while, posting videos, although he does chime in here and there. He's one of the people, I think, that first turned me on to the Analog Africa label. And since just before that, I got turned on by someone else, not in the VC. I think from Amoeba's What's in Your Bag to the 2 volumes of African Scream Contest, which are amongst my favorite comps the last couple of years. Having said that, since then, every time I see an Analog Africa release, I pick it up. I don't see them very much. You can get them from Bandcamp, online possibly. It's a German label that does a lot of, mostly African, vintage from the 60s, 70s, where it's dancey, psychedelic, funky kind of stuff. Well, Jambu just came out, and I just happened to see it, one copy in a local store, so I snatched it up. These always come with these wonderful books. This is sort of Brazilian, all these different Brazilian artists, a comp of, God, I think from the 60s, 70s. I don't even know all the details yet. I haven't even had a chance to digest it, so I'm going to throw that out to Baraka P. Dub. I know Steve Carlson likes a lot of this stuff, and anyone else should check it out. So I'm at the point in my record buying, fanaticism. Every time I see anything on Analog Africa, no matter what it is, I'm going to pretty much just grab it. Because it's always music that I can just, as the kids say, or when I was a kid, we can groove to. So, Jambu will be in the background. I'm going to show some new releases, mostly new stuff, and there'll be a couple little parts to this. So, stand by. Okay. First new album in years, in several years, because he had last year there was an album he put out of unreleased songs, but Bonnie, Prince, Billy have media place. Psych folk, more folk, not even psych folk, just introspective, beautiful stuff as usual, more the same, but lovely stuff if you like that kind of introspective folk music. And it's got some nice guests on here, which I won't even get into. You can look it up, but really a fine record. I love anything he puts out pretty much is a highlight for me. Bobby, Prince, Billy. Then there's, I'm a big Billy Bragg fan, kind of the ultimate folk punk artist, Americana now, even though he's a Brit. I mentioned, is it the fat man with a beard, or is it, who was it? Said something about Billy Bragg. Someone just posted who got this record. Maybe it was, oh God, Scotland, Mr. Scotland. I'm blanking out right now. So when I do these and I improvise, I don't really recall, but the first time I ever saw Billy Bragg, he opened up in Berkeley for The Clash, and I fell in love with his sort of folk punk sensibilities at the time when he was really just doing electric guitar on his own. Then I saw him at another club soon after that in San Francisco on 8th Street. Next month or so, depending on when we get a chance, when the archivist visits again, we're going to do a feature on Billy Bragg. This is a BBC collection of all the BBC work from 1983 through 2019. Jim Sullivan is a Light in the Attic issue that just came out 50 years ago. This is recorded, I don't think released or not released in this form. Maybe it has never been released. Interesting, he's one of these, he's like the Bermuda Triangle of rock folk artists, where he was driving, left his family, and left the West Coast to drive to Nashville. I think he made it towards Arizona, and he disappeared. They found his car, never to be seen again. This just came out on Light in the Attic. Would make for a great movie of What If, right? What if Jim Sullivan in If the Evening Were Dawn on Light in the Attic. He always grew great comps. It's interesting how you see the ocean here, footprints walking into the sea, and the footprints are raised up, embossed, debossed, embossed. Not new, but I finally found the 12-inch UK single of Dear God by XTC. If you saw my XTC feature with ELO XTC, 10cc, Dear God, great single from the Skylarking album, which originally wasn't on the Skylarking record. It was a B-side of a single, then finally was added to the CD because it became really popular. I might have mentioned this or briefly showed it, Ghosteen. Anything Nick Lowe is high on my list. This is a moody, spiritual, gorgeous record of Nick Cave and Warren Ellis with the Bad Seeds, but it's mainly those two, but just a really beautiful record. It's definitely one of the top 10 of the year for me at this point. But it's one of his more introspective, moody records, not the upbeat, yelling, howling Nick Cave, which I like too, but I'm loving this stuff. These are kind of things I picked up at the record show, and the thing is they're all new, and two of them are rare. I got turned on a number of years ago, about a decade ago, to Jesse Sykes and the Sweet Hereafter. And Jesse Sykes and the Sweet Hereafter are sort of dirgy, psychedelic, and she's got the voice of like a Grace Slick. And this one is extremely rare. This is from 2004. This came out, and the other one is, I believe, like around 2013. I don't think they're together in this form, but I was so excited to get this. I have these on compact discs, and they're really really great records. So if you see the CDs, the vinyl's really extremely hard to get. If you see the vinyl and it's cheap, grab it. You can probably sell it or to someone else here on the PC or you know, anywhere. But really great. I love her, Jesse Sykes. You know, I just read this article about Dave Alvin from the Blasters. It has an album coming out early next year, February or March. And the premise of the album, if you know the Blasters and know Dave Alvin and his kind of rockabilly, Americana sensibilities, he always read that Teo Maceo and Miles Davis would do these like Bitches Brew and post those 70s funk albums where the artists, the musicians would jam in the studio, then Miles and Teo Maceo would just edit stuff together, almost like montage-esque. And that's what a lot of those Miles Davis albums are like. So David Alvin has this album coming out in early next year. It might be Drag City. It's one of those sort of labels. I can't remember. You can pre-order it now, and unfortunately I don't remember what the name is under, but search Dave Alvin new record. But my point is, get to it, Mazzy. Jessie Sykes is on it, so she does some vocals on it. I'm really excited because I haven't heard from her in a while. So Jessie Sykes there. and Reckless Burning. And something I was so excited about, if you've been following me, you know I've been trying to I'm a completist for Neil Young, get everything. I did found Lanois last month. The two rarest albums that I've been looking for, at least the ones that I didn't have, are Lanois and Mirrorball with Pearl Jam, because it came out really during the CD heyday when vinyl was coming out few and far in between. At the record show, sealed copy, 1995 pressing of Mirrorball. So excited. It was $38. I don't see it less than $75, and most of the listings I see are well above $100, and that's for open copies. So it has the hype sticker still sealed. I don't think the guy realized what this was, because again, at a record show, $38 had the sticker right on here, and I might have even paid twice that if it was right in front of me, sight seen, you know, at that point. Not that I'd want to spend that much, but this is one of the few, and I never see it in the wilderness out in the field. But anyway, there you go. Also, before I have a little break here to show you some more on the other side, there was a Kickstarter campaign last year by the photographer Ethan Russell, and as you know, I collect photography, some prints, photographs, some photography books, and mainly pop rock and roll books. Ethan Russell was an American who went to London in his early 20s, met up with Mick Jagger, and ended up photographing the Stones for 4 years. You definitely know his images. You definitely know him. Well, he did a Kickstarter campaign for this volume of the book. I own that print. John Lennon listening to the playback of the White Album in 1968. He photographed the cover of Let It Be and the Hey Jude album. It was the last official photo session for the Beatles, plus the entire 1969 Rolling Stones tour. So I might do a major feature of this at some point later, of books or his work or his album covers. He's done Linda Ronstadt album covers. He's done Rolling Stones album covers. Actually, get the live one, the 70 live one. He's done James Taylor, the second Warner Brothers record. Come on, Mazzy. It's hard, to, when you have a book this large, and just to get through some of the pictures. But I was so excited to jump in this book more. You definitely know his Who's Next album cover, so now take from that. So, Ethan Russell, Kickstarter campaign, and I think there may be some left. Check ethanrussell.com. Gorgeous book if you like rock photography, if you don't collect. They have different editions depending on how high you want to go collectors-wise. But I'd say if you like rock photography, I've shown Jim Marshall and David Bailey and a number of others. So we'll be back after this message. Yeah. I made a mistake. I said Nick Lowe, and then I said Nick Cage, and I meant Nick Cave. Cave, God, whatever, okay? I just thought I'd do a correction here instead of having all these friggin' comments now.
Okay. When all you do is walk the other way, I can't tell you how much I wish I didn't want to stay. I just kinda wish you were gay.
Thank you for staying with me. That little clip there, if it stayed, is Billie Eilish. Now, I'm late to the bandwagon. This came out earlier this year. And I tell you, it's one of the best albums. You see all the press and all the hype. She and her brother are amazing here. Phineas is her brother, Phineas O'Connor, I believe, and one of the best albums of the year, seriously. Billie Eilish. hip hop, but kind of a low key, dirgy quality to really beautiful. I mean, I tell you, what is she? Just barely 18. This is going somewhere. She's going. I mean, she already is somewhere. You don't need to say that, but I think one of the best albums of the year. It'll be on my best list. But I finally got this, and I'm happy with it. What you're hearing in the background is what I showed in the first half. This is a 2004 Jenny Sykes and the Sweet Hereafter. So I'll turn it down a little bit, but this will be playing in the background. Let me just let it go for a bit. And then continuing with the new releases of the last several weeks, a new batch of Blue Note 80s that came out. Grant Green Alive. It's a little lightweight compared to some of them, but it's this is like 1970, I believe. 1970 this came out, so it's not one of the early ones that we're all used to. But it's if you like Grant Green, it's a nice one. I wouldn't say it's my first choice, but it's a little bit twee. But it's a little funky in a light way. And it's Grant Green Alive. This is the live series, by the way. The ones that came out this month are all live records from Blue Note 80. The other two, there's a 2-volume set. You can buy them individually, which is great. Those of you who love Art Blakey and the Jazz Messengers. Lee Morgan, Wayne Shorter, Bobby Timmons, Jaime Merritt, and Art Blakey, of course, and nice records. These are from 1960. Volume 1s and Volume 2s. And then the Horace Silver Quintet at the Village Gate, 1961. Blue Note. Blue Mitchell, Junior Cook, Horace Silver, Gene Taylor, and Roy Brooks on drums. You know, why don't we do this in rock and roll? We show these rock and roll records, don't we? Say, yes, John Lennon on guitar, Ringo Starr on drums and marachas and tambourine, George Harrison on slide guitar, sitar, John Lennon, Paul McCartney on bass and piano. We never say that, do we? I just did, so. And then I'm going to end up with a posthumous record. One of my favorite artists, and this is already in my top 10 of this year, or it's going to be. Look at that. Thanks for the dance. Leonard Cohen. If you don't like the last Leonard Cohen album, the one that came out just before he died, you won't like this, but it's a beautiful record. The songs, the recordings were nearly finished, and Leonard Cohen's son, who produced that last album, produced this, finished it off, and it's really a beautiful record. Touching, intense, poetic, obviously, from Canadian poet. I played it twice already, just came out today, and I've already gone through it twice. I listened to a stream of it over the last week, and on Sony Music Columbia. I'm a big Leonard Cohen fan. I keep thinking about doing a feature on Leonard Cohen, but kind of don't know what to say. I can just show the records, I guess, but kind of want to say something about it. But gorgeous record. Anyway, thanks for watching. That's pretty much it. That's a lot of music that's come out now. And if you haven't watched the separate video of my Beatle box sets, Beatles single and EP box sets that I just posted earlier. So, Mazzy loves you, and thanks, vinyl community.
Bluesy type composition. We call this one "Kiss Me Right."